I never get tired of doing that. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Uru Complete Chronicles. This is a spin-off of the Myst series that came out around 2003, and as a spin-off, it's quite a bit different from most of the other Myst games. And in fact, one of the differences can be seen right here. Unlike the other games, we actually have the ability to customize our own avatar, and that's because we're actually not going to be playing in the first person, we're going to be playing in the third person. There's also some other differences as well, but I'll get into more of that stuff when we start the game. Let's go ahead and get going here so we don't waste any time. So we can customize a few things. I must confess, though, the customization options in this game I don't think are the best, but they are something at least. Let's see, for hair, let's get something, I don't know, that looks more like what I've got, so let's do that. Actually, wait a minute. A hat? You know, a hat would be good. Let's go with a hat. And let's make the hat light yellow, make it look like a straw hat. I like those kind of hats. I'd say that's good. Let's do that. And dark hair. We'll go with dark hair. Let me make it a little more yellowish. There we go. Alright, so face, we get a little bit more of a close-up here. Actually, wait a minute. We can also put facial hair. I don't have much in the way of facial hair in real life, but I think I could rock out with a mustache pretty well. So let's do that. You can set a bunch of stuff here for your face, but to be honest, it doesn't really make too much of a difference in my opinion. I wish you had more options for your eyes, because all of these options kind of make you look like generic dude. Like, my eyes look a little smaller because I'm part Filipino, so I also have darker skin, so that at least they give you that option. So let's go with that, and nose, I don't really have much in the way of nose, but it is a little bit wider. Mouth, you can kind of make your mouth smaller or bigger. I feel like I've got a pretty good sized mouth. Don't tell me when I said that, though. Chin, let's go all the way out. Eyebrows are pretty low compared to my eyes, so we'll do that. Nose length, we'll stick with the middle on that one. And I think my cheeks are more or less down there. And chin, let's make it really wide. I'm also going to change this around a bit. Oh, these actually move around depending on what you do with the other ones. That's interesting. Alright, I also have glasses, so let's put these on and we'll make them dark. And my eyes are pretty brown, so we'll leave that alone. You can actually make your eyes purple or other weird colors like that, but we'll go with a brownish color. Alright, so that should be it for our face. Upper body. So you've got a few options for wearing a top or a shirt here. I'm going to go with a t-shirt for now, specifically this one, because I love Riven a lot. And I'm going to go with yellow, because I'm always yellow whenever I play board games. So let's do that for this. I think that looks pretty good. And, yeah. Hands. Ooh, I got an idea. Let's do this, but we'll make them red. That will look really cool with our yellow shirt. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, and I also forgot to customize our age and build, too, so let's do that. I'm not super young, and builds, I'm not super thin either, but not too big, so let's do that. I think that's pretty decent. Yeah, I'd say that looks moderately like me, although not totally. Alright, so lower body, I'm going to keep the jeans. You can select other pants here, like that, which to me looks really strange. At least the way that's rendered. Oh, that looks even worse. It looks like you just rolled up your pants. But I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to make them kind of dark. Yeah, let's go for that. And can we make the belt we can make the belt a weird color, but I'm going to go for a nice dark color there. And then the feet, I'm going to wear the tennis shoes. And I think, actually no, I'm going to wear these shoes. I'm going to make the laces all red. And make the actual shoes black. Yeah, let's do that instead of making them white. That looks really cool. Alright, so I think we're done customizing our avatar. It should be noted that throughout the course of the game, we are going to be collecting more pieces of clothing that we can add to our character. So I don't know how much of these I'm really going to be wearing and how often, but I think for the most part I'm going to be sticking with this look, so get used to this, because you'll be seeing this face quite a bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with Uru. There's going to be an opening cinematic which we'll watch, and then we'll get into the game.
Isha, last night your mother had a dream. The dream tells that the ancient Dunny city will grow again someday. New seekers of Dunny will flow in from the desert, feeling called to something they do not understand. But the dream also tells of a desert bird with the power to weave this new Dunny's future. We fear such power. It changes people. Isha, our desert bird, your search seems to take you further and further from us. I hope what you find will bring you closer.
Okay, so that was the opening to the game. And right off the bat, there's a few things we need to talk about here. First, before we get into the backstory and all the setup for the game here, let's talk about the controls, because we're going to be operating in the first person, and there's a few things here that are a little different than what you might be used to from past Myst games. So we're going to be moving around with these, or the WSAD keys as well. You can hold down Shift to run, which is also that there as well. And there is a view that you can use to switch to first person, but I'm not going to use this, and the reason why is because there are points in the game, several of them, where you're going to be forced to look at yourself in the third person, like when you're climbing up and down ladders and stuff. And I'd rather keep it consistent, so I'm going to just stay in the third person, even if it's in some places a little more challenging. And here's the probably the most significant addition right here. You can use the space bar to jump. That's right, you can jump in this game. So there's going to be a few areas where that's going to come in handy. You can also use the mouse, but we're probably not going to be doing that too much. Alright, so let's test this out a little bit. We can move around here, turn like this. We can walk with the W key, or the up arrow. We can run with the Shift key. And we can look at the sign here. Alright, what does this say? Private property. Propiedad privada. No trespassing. Trespassing for any purpose is strictly prohibited. Violators will be prosecuted. Property owner Silas Zandy, or Elias Zandy, I think is the name, DRF. I can't quite see what the first part of that says right there, but the last part says New Mexico. So we can turn around here and, oh, there's something on the back of the sign. Can we interact with that? Our mouse cursor changes whenever I mouse over it, so let's try it out. Alright, it looks like it's making a sound, and it lit up a little bit, which is very interesting. But that seems to be all it did. What happens if I touch it again? Same thing. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get going here. So, one thing I should mention about this game that's very interesting is that, unlike the normal mainline Myst games, this game actually takes place in the present day. Present day in this case being 2003 or so, when this came out. The other Myst games take place in around the early 19th century, actually. And this might be a little confusing because the game actually doesn't specifically tell you this right at the start, nor do the other Myst games give you a time frame. But that's actually around when this happens compared to, or relative to, the original game. And you might be wondering, wait a minute, how in the world is Atreus still alive? We heard him in the opening cinematic, talking to Yisha, who in Myst 3 was just a kid, was a baby at that point. Well, the Dunny, the civilization that's prominently featured in the Myst series, have unusually long lifespans, and Atreus And even though he's half Dunny, he can still live for a very long time. So that's something that's interesting to note, just as context for all this. The other thing is the location. If you've watched my other Myst Let's Plays, and if you haven't, just be warned that there are spoilers for the other games here in this Let's Play, then you might recall that I mentioned that at the start of the Myst 3 Let's Play, Tomana, Atreus' new home after the events of Myst and Riven, is located out in the desert of New Mexico, and so is the entrance to the Dunny Cavern. Well, to put all this into context, the Dunny Cavern is actually located underneath this volcano. Like, there's actually an entrance to the cavern that goes inside the caldera of the volcano if you were to go up in there, but we actually can't do that, unfortunately, because we've got this invisible wall right here. Even though this fence is barely waist high, look at that. We can't even jump it. I think Tomana is somewhere off in the distance over there, in that direction. I'm not entirely certain, but I think it's somewhere around here. But I'm saying all this because at the very end of Riven, Atreus sent us back home, back to Earth through the Starfisher. And that was where we started our adventure in Myst, remember? And then in Myst 3, we found him in Tomana. So it's not too unreasonable to assume that somehow the stranger and Atreus met up around this desert. Maybe the stranger went back to investigate, and Atreus found him when he was out here, looking around or something. So, just a theory, at least. Hey, man.
Hey. Welcome. So, I'm Zandy. I probably know more about why you're here than you do. Don't worry about it. You felt drawn here, just like the others. I'm not really here to give you answers, just to give you help and get you started. She's left a message for you in the cleft. Listen to it well. Follow her. Find the journeys. And then enter the tree. Oh, and check with me if you need help.
Alright, so this guy says his name is Zandy. He's not actually the same Zandy that was mentioned on the sign over there. I think this is his son, Jeff. I can't remember if it's Jeff or not. But, interesting note, he was voiced by David Ogden Stiers, who recently passed away, which is really sad. But he mentioned a bunch of cryptic things that we don't really know the context of yet. He mentioned that we felt drawn here, and this is where I'm going to talk about something else. Oh, and here's another one of those little cloth things. Let's see what this does. Okay, that one lit up a little more of the hand. So, we don't know if this is actually, this amount of it is tied to here, or if it just progressively lights up more the more you find. Well, either way, let's try to find more of them. And we got something over here. Looks like a giant hole in the ground. A cleft. With a windmill type thing over here. Can we start it? Doesn't seem like it. It's like it's stuck. Maybe we have to go from the other side. Let's try that. Nope, that doesn't work either. Alright. Well, we'll come back to this area in a little bit. I do want to do a little more exploring out here. So one of the main conceits of this game that's really interesting is that it was originally intended to be meant for online play. It was actually intended to be an MMO, but sadly it never took off. And could it be? That looks familiar. It is! It's the telescope from Riven. Can't exactly look inside of it, sadly, but you can hop on top of it, I guess. So this confirms that the Starfisher does indeed lead out here. And actually there was a funny bug when the game first came out. I don't know if it still exists, but you could actually jump off this over the fence. Ah, missed it. Oh well, I don't know if it's possible anymore anyway, so... Anything here on the back side of this? Doesn't look like it. Anyway, one thing that's really interesting about this game is that there's a lot of stuff in it that was meant to be for the online component. In fact, the first part of this game, which is commonly referred to as Uru Ages Beyond Myst, was meant to be sort of an appetizer for you, so you would then subscribe to the online part, called Uru Live. And even more of the hand is lit up. Alright, well we definitely need to find more of these things. We'll go around the volcano, but there's really nothing to see back here. I figured I'd show it to you guys just to make sure you checked everything out. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff in the game because the online component didn't quite make it. A lot of the content was released in expansion packs, and then this game was re-released with all the content, which is why it's called Complete Chronicles now. So it includes the original game, Ages Beyond Myst, and then the 2 expansions, which are called 2 Dunny, and then The Path of the Shell. So I'm going to be going through all of the content available in the base game. There is an online game that was resurrected. I think it's called Myst Online originally, and then it got resurrected on... no, it got resurrected on GameTap, I think, for a little while back when that was popular, as Myst Online. And then I think eventually there were some fans who kind of created their own server until Uru, I think was the name of it, and it was kind of basically meant to be sort of a holding down of the fort until something could come up in the hopes that something would come up again. But that never really quite, became anything. And then eventually Cyan did resurrect it, but only as kind of a free-to-play thing where you could just go into everything as it existed, and it was very buggy and had some issues. But it exists right now. You can actually go online for free. It's sort of a fancy chat room for the most part, but it's still really fun if you want to check it out. And perhaps one day... Wait a minute, why am I going... Do I have to walk forward? No, that's what I thought. I thought I had to go down. Maybe I just waited too long. The controls are a little strange and take a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, the online game as it exists right now, I might go through with somebody if I had a partner that I worked well with. Preferably somebody I knew in real life. And whoa! Okay, that happened. Alright, so this area has some water, at least. There's some plants growing down here. Little pond here. Nice to see in the desert. Let's take a look around. We got some of these broken bridges that we can use as ladders, so let's do that. So yeah, if I ever find somebody one day to do that with, I might do it. It would be kind of a supplementary material for this game. And we found another cloth. I think that makes the 4th one that we saw. Also, I forgot to mention that 3rd one appeared to be in what seemed to be a wark skeleton from Riven. So it looks like that made it all the way down here too. What's this room? Looks like somebody left their clothes here. There's a note. All good Myst games begin with a note, right? Looks like this is the monologue that we heard Atris recite at the very beginning. It seems to be actually a letter to Yisha. And it talks about the Dunny growing again. We heard about this earlier. And new seekers of Dunny, that's us, the people who are coming in to play the game. And it looks like Yisha is going to be somehow involved with this process. And in order to do so, she's going to be going away from her family, so that's interesting. There's also somebody else's handwriting here. I will use them to bring me the least. Impossible. Now his burden is mine. What I have found must be returned. We don't know what any of that means right now, but we'll be hearing references to a lot of those terms throughout the game, so just be cognizant of that. And there's also a pair of goggles here that we can take. This is our first clothing item that we picked up, and when you pick these up, you actually automatically put them on. So, looks like that's a dead end, so we'll continue looking this way. So yeah, the clothing items in this game, you will be able to change them later on, but not quite yet. I just wanted to grab that one because I know we won't be coming back here for quite a while. There's another ladder here, and it's actually kind of a bit of a process to get to this, just because you can't jump from the bottom to get up here. So we're going to be going through that at least 2 more times. Alright, what do we have here? I see a button on the wall. There's also something there, a board. But that doesn't really mean anything right now. It's a bunch of symbols. Looks like they're enclosed in a targeting reticule or something. And there's also a machine here. Oh, hey, here we go. We can change these, apparently. Looks like we have to put in a code. Also a button there, but it looks like nothing is working right now. Maybe the power's not on. Which would make sense, because the windmill up top's not working. Lever here. Well, that accomplished something. If you think about where we are, we're actually under the windmill at the moment, so maybe that unclasped this enough to make the windmill start. So we'll have to see how that goes. Alright, so that still doesn't work, so let's go back up top and check the windmill out. I'm probably going to be bumping into a lot of walls. Is that something there? Looks like there's something in there. Oh, I didn't want to climb down. I wanted to jump down. Oh well. Okay, so let's go back up top using the ladder that broke. I think that's this one? Yeah, pretty sure it's this one. The bridge that broke, that is. Whoops. Much like any Myst game, you can't really get too far without power, right? Okay, hopefully that windmill is now functional. By the way, you can drop pretty much any distance and you won't get hurt, which is pretty nice. Alright, let's push it. Push it real good. Alright, there you go. Oh, and it raised up. Oh, I can't get hit by it. Let's see if I can get hit by it. Guess they thought of that. By the way, don't try that at home, kids. Don't get hit by windmills. It's not a good thing. Alright, can we jump down there? That'd be... Oh, we can't. Really? I guess that's more realistic that you can't do that, but still. I'd at least like to try. Alright, so we're going to have to go through that whole process again to get over to the... Oh, hey, we made it over here. I wonder if you can drop down from there to that spot. I'd be curious to know that. So, this location, I'll talk a little bit more about here in a couple minutes. Because it's actually pretty significant to Myst lore. There's going to be a lot of... I knew that was going to happen at some point. There's actually going to be a lot of locations in this game that are going to be very meaningful if you've read the Myst novels. There's Myst the Book of Tiana, Myst the Book of Atris, and Myst the Book of Dunny. And I haven't read them yet, but I've heard really good things about them from friends who have. So I'm hoping to do so at some point in the future. I actually own the Book of Tiana. I still need to read it. Okay, now let's try going inside. Hey, now that's glowing. Can we press that there? Let's try that. Alright, so we got a cross, an eye, a turtle, and a thingy. Oh, hey, this works. Or not. Okay. Let's play with this now. Looks like it's more functional. So this one was a cross, right? And then we had the eye thing, which looks like a yeah, there we go, horizontal eye or a shell. Then we got the turtle, speaking of shells. There we go. And then we had the thingy, the square thingy. There we go. Let's see what this does.
Oh yes, not underneath, they won't understand. Once again, the stream in the cleft has begun to flow. was dry for so
Oh,
long.
sorry for blocking your view there.
The water is flowing in from the desert. The storm is coming. Have you heard of the city? The deep city, the ancient Uru? Where there was power to right worlds. For thousands of years, the city lived beneath the surface. Keeper of the secret. Keeper of the power. Keeper of the ages. Always keeping. The city grew proud. And then it died. The water flows where it wills. It seeks its own path uncontrolled, except that it flows downward, always downward. Denis, the city of ages, of other worlds, died. But now it breathes again. It awaits. Some will seek that destination, but you should seek the journey. It's as a fine tapestry, complex beyond comprehension, but now torn. We will show you remnants, pieces of the tapestry,
Okay.
pieces of the journey. Find these remnants, these journeys. 7 in each age. 7 here in the desert. Consider it a quest. No, a request. Worship. The water flows downward, and there it pools and collects, and finally, once again, it reaches the roots, and the tree begins to grow again. I am Isha. My parents brought me to this place. We will bring you.
Okay, so that was really interesting. We saw an adult Yisha, now much older than her appearance in Myst 3 and also Myst 4, which at this point we haven't actually played on the channel yet. And she gave us a little bit of information about what's going on here, although a lot of it is still a little bit cryptic. So, the first thing she mentions that's worthy of note is kind of what we're up to here regarding these cloths. And she mentioned the cloths being representative of the journey and not the destination. And this is a philosophy that's going to be often repeated and referenced throughout the game. And we're supposed to find 7 of these cloths. This one just mysteriously got conjured up here during the recording. So we found 5 so far, and it looks like each time we press a new one, there's fingers that, or parts of the hand that appear there. So as long as we find all 7, it looks like we'll be able to complete each of the ages. Although we don't know exactly what's going to happen quite yet. Zandy told us to enter the tree, so we need to find a tree and enter it, I suppose. The other thing she mentioned was, she talked a little bit about the Dunny civilization and the fact that they were people who were always taking. And this is something that's going to be important to remember as time goes on. And finally, the last thing, which I promised I'd talk more about earlier, was this location. She mentioned that her parents brought her here, and that's because this location, known as the Cleft in Myst lore, is actually where Atreus grew up when he was being raised by his grandmother, Tiana. And I'm going out this way because I happen to know where one of the other journey cloths is. Jumping looks really awkward in this game. Just gonna say that. So yeah, we got a little bit more... Oh wait, that's a rope there. We can't jump over that. We can go down this ladder, though. So that's a little bit more context than we had earlier. At least we know what we're doing. We're supposed to go to different ages and find 7 of these journey cloths in each of them. And hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about why we're here, and maybe find our purpose in the meantime. Okay, hopefully I will not fall off this time around. Let's see how this goes. Once you play with this game enough, you get used to the controls. It's just that initial hump of getting over the kind of the awkwardness of it that's a little weird. Alright, here we go. You can actually go up to Zandy and ask him for help with these, like he mentioned earlier, but you don't have to. And for the purposes of the Let's Play, I'm not going to do that. Alright, we have one more to get. And we haven't explored this area yet, although that looks interesting. That looks like that's a tree. There's a journey symbol on it. Okay, it lit up a little bit, but it didn't quite take. So it looks like we need to find the last cloth, the 7th one, before anything there can happen. And I happen to know that the last cloth is over here. Actually, let's look at the room here. I think this is like a linens room with supplies that Atreus' family used. Amazing that these are all still here. And there's a pedal here for our feet to operate. I'm assuming they lowered this bucket there down into the water to collect water to use up here. Maybe that was like a cooking area or something. Alright, where is it? Right there. You couldn't do this earlier until you turned the power on, by the way. Alright. That was definitely a more pronounced noise than before as well. Let's go ahead and head inside the tree then. Cyan sure loves their tree exploring, don't they? This place. Wait a minute. That symbol on the wall. We saw that earlier, didn't we, during the opening intro? That's interesting. It's in Dunny, so we don't know what that means. We got some other things here. We got a picture of somebody holding a staff. And we'll switch to first person real quick. There's this thing that looks like a volcano. That looks like a cavern, so maybe that means the Dunny Cavern. That appears to be a linking book. And there's a spiral symbol. Interesting stuff. Alright, well let's take this. Let's see what this is. It's a little linking book that goes to somewhere in the clouds, it looks like. And this is a first for the Myst series. You can actually take this book, put it on your belt, and it will actually come with you whenever you use it, which is certainly unique. Those of you who've played Myst 3 before might remember that linking books stay behind whenever you use them, which can definitely lead to some interesting situations. But this one comes with us. And it takes us to this island in the sky, I guess. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot here. We've got some rocky terrain. But it looks a little familiar, doesn't it? In fact, it bears some resemblance to Myst. We've got the flat area over here that's similar to the dock. We've got the plateau where the gears are. This area, which I guess represents the library. And then these pillars over here, which are very similar to the area with the fountain in Myst. And then, of course, we've got the lone island over there where the clock tower would be. It's very interesting. There's no rocket ship, though. But one of the nice things about the game is that this book always comes with you, and as such, you'll always link back here in case you fall into a hazardous situation or get trapped somewhere. So, like, if we dove off here, jumped off, we'll immediately link back, and you can still link here even though this is the same age, which is really cool. And you always link back inside the hut, which at the moment is closed, so let's open it up here. So this area, we are going to see a lot of this building. This area is going to be our personal library. We can open up the windows here. And one thing that's interesting about this age is that it's meant to be your own personal home. Home away from home, basically. And throughout the game, we're going to be collecting various pages, called Relto pages, which we'll insert into our book down here. And these pages can be turned off and on to customize the look of the Relto that we're building here. And you can, in the online component, you can invite people over to your Relto and host parties and whatnot. But it's going to be a relatively solitary experience here. So the other thing is this area here inside. has 3 shelves, or 2 shelves. There's this and the other one on the opposite side. This one is the one we're going to be dealing with a lot because this is going to have all of our linking books. And you can see that the designers originally intended to have tons of linking books that you could use to link to all kinds of ages. But we're actually only going to be using this part of the top shelf here for the course of the game. So everything that you see with a hand icon that kind of looks like the journey symbol, this is meant to be part of the base game, the Ages Beyond Myst components. This part is part of the first expansion, To Dunny, and then these 5 books are part of the second expansion, Path of the Shell. And none of these other ones, sadly, will get used, so that's a bit of a bummer there. This area right here is a closet within which you can change your clothes, and then this area is a shelf where we can read some texts that are going to come in handy throughout the game. But we're going to do that next time. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that little bell so you can get notified of the next episode. But until that next episode, take care, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side.